In solo leveling, after Goto Ryu Fraud requested a sparring match between the South Korean S-rankers against Japan's hunters, my glorious king questioned why Ryuji wasn't participating, asking if all he really wanted was to assess their strength. Still, a match between S-ranks was hard to come by, so he was glad he came. The hunters faced against each other, as Kenzo Tanaka stated that he already got a pretty good read on both Ma Dong-wook and Baek Yoonho from the fight they had earlier. But he had the feeling that Yoonho was hiding something up his sleeve. Muscle Mommy Kanai thought that since it was 4-on-4, her opponent was probably Mommy Cha, but Taegyu just hoped that they would go easy on them. Dong-wook activated Gigantification, telling them to get the match started, making Kenzo think that it looked like he preferred a battle of strength, saying that he liked how he kept it simple. Both of their fists suddenly clashed, trying to see who was stronger as both of them continued duking it out. Minoru suddenly rushed toward Taegyu, making him say that he was fast, stating that close combat would put him at a disadvantage. He materialized multiple arrows, saying that creating a distance was his specialty, launching them toward Minoru in an instant. He barely managed to dodge the attack, but his real target were his teammates behind, making Kenzo say that they needed Minoru to take care of the guy as soon as possible or things would get difficult. The chairman stated that the interior of the facility was fortified using essence stones of the highest quality, so an average hunter wouldn't be able to make so much as a dent on these walls. But the place had already been completely wrecked in the matter of seconds. He thought it was regrettable that they were only sending their youngest hunters into the battlefield, as Yoonho stated that their opponents were some of the most powerful S-ranks in the world, so they had to brace themselves and be prepared to not only grab their wrists, but break them if they needed to. Kumamoto thought that he was just wasting his energy, saying that he wouldn't follow these silly rules because he was too emo. And in the split second before he struck his behind, the cornball stated that the only rule he lived by was survival of the fittest. Yoonho managed to evade the attack, questioning why he hesitated when he had the intent to kill just now. He questioned if he was scared, as Kumamoto asked himself if he wasn't cut out to be a hunter since he hesitated once again. Yoonho couldn't tell if he had great judgment or if he was just a little bitch, questioning if his previous theory about fighting affinity being a requirement for awakening was wrong. It seemed like Ryu Fraud wanted to use them to test the Japanese hunters in order to see if they were prepared to fight against the ants. And if he was using him for his little test, he would give them a little taste of his true powers. Kumamoto was suddenly in shock, saying the look in his eyes had changed, stating that he was so scared that he just wanted to get out of there immediately. But Yoonho suddenly launched himself toward him, and while he was attacking him with his claws, he stated that he was nothing but a pathetic little bitch, saying that it was a pity how he was probably one of the strongest S-rankers around. Jongsu watched in utter surprise, saying that there were nothing but monsters here. His match with Hanakawa earlier was nothing but child's play compared to this, but Yuntae disagreed, shouting that he was cool as hell. A sudden explosion emerged out of nowhere, distracting Yoonho. Dong-wook had been defeated, as Kenzo stated that it looked like he was the stronger out of the two, making him say that he couldn't believe that he actually got drilled into the ground, saying that it was a first for him. Taegyu was then pinned into the wall in an instant, as Minoru stated that it seemed like he was the winner of this bout. With half of his team eliminated, Yoonho took in a deep breath, asking if they really thought he was an easier target than Mommy Cha, saying that they've truly underestimated him. At the other side of the arena, Kanai was being completely overwhelmed by Mommy Cha. She thought that she was just fast, but she was wrong. She couldn't read any of her movement patterns. Hunter Cha was nicknamed the Dancer. She was given this name due to the way she would swiftly unalive one beast after another as if she were dancing. But she banned the use of the name because she found it embarrassing, so there weren't a lot of people who still called her that now. Kanai attempted a counterattack, but Mommy Cha instantly struck right before her very eyes, blowing off her hat, as she then maneuvered right behind her, tapping her in the back, eliminating her from the match. She attempted to run over to Yoonho, seeing that he was being overwhelmed. But Kumamoto suddenly appeared right behind her, thinking that his teammates would be able to handle the Korean easily, so he should just focus on dealing with the female. But Mommy Cha turned around in the fraction of a second, pummeling his face with countless blows. Both Akari and Fujishima were in utter shock by her display of power, saying that she was like a Gatling gun. They questioned how many times she had punched him just now, saying they couldn't believe she hit him so many times in the blink of an eye. No one could have blocked an attack like that, except for my glorious king, of course. Mommy Cha started panicking, saying she did it out of instinct and didn't mean to beat him up. Kumamoto's face was covered in blood, as he had completely gone berserk. as Fujishima stated that once the guy got angry, he would see red turning into a completely different person. Kei added that he didn't simply turn into a different person, but he loses all sense of rationality, stating that a guy like that wasn't fit to be in a strike squad. You would never know when he would start acting out on his own, attacking his fellow teammates. Even though he was capable of clearing a B-rank dungeon all by himself, if he couldn't work with a team to clear one of A rank, then there was no point in him being an S rank at all. Ryu Fraud told the other hunters to stop him immediately if they saw that one of the Koreans were about to get seriously injured. But Hanekawa stated that now would be the best time to intervene. They couldn't even afford to compensate all of the damage he was causing. Kumamoto suddenly went for the killing blow, attempting to stomp on Mami Cha. She realized just how fast he had gotten, with his strike creating an immense shockwave panning across the arena. But Kumamoto was surprised, seeing as how my glorious, handsome, nonchalant king stepped in, stopping his attack, as he said that they were getting a little carried away when this was just a sparring session. Kumamoto was hella mad planning to counterattack, but Jinwoo pinned him to the ground in an instant with overwhelming force. Surprised by the way he moved just now, Ryu Fraud asked Hanekawa if the hunter over there was really a mage type. She nervously replied, confirming it according to the official statement that was released, making Ryuji say that the quickest way to see if it was true or not was for him to check on his own. Jinwoo asked Mami Cha if they should consider this a loss for the Korean team, seeing as how Yunho was already caught as well. The Japanese were overwhelmingly stronger than them, making Yunho say that he wouldn't have been able to do anything even if he had transformed. Hanekawa approached Jinwoo, saying that Mr. Goto wanted to have a word with him. Attempting to aura farm, Ryuji asked if his name was Sung Jinwoo, saying that he would like to have a one-on-one fight against him, asking if he accepted. Jinwoo thought that his body language told him that he wanted to fight, so he didn't even need to hear the translation. He questioned if he really just wanted to see how skilled he was. He wasn't sure whether he had an ulterior motive, but this was a good chance for him to test how much stronger he's gotten since the demon's castle. Ryuji was taken aback, questioning if he really had the guts to smile in his presence. Hanekawa then told the failed aura farmer that my glorious king had agreed to the fight, but under one condition. He would only accept his invitation if he agreed to fight, using his full strength. Lim Tegyu questioned what the hell was going on. Ryuji accepted the condition, telling the S-rank healer Akari to heal anyone who ends up getting hurt during their sparring match, including he, who as he stated would be needing her assistance in a few minutes. Dongwook went on to say that he had guts for trying to have a match against Goto Ryuji. Mami Cha worried if he would really be okay, but she had remembered that he fought against an A-rank dungeon boss and over 100 high orcs all by himself. Baek Yunho then asked if she was fine being around all of these hunters due to her sensitive nose, but she replied saying she couldn't always be covering her nose, especially once they get to Jeju Island, and asked that since he was an acquaintance of Jinwoo, why wasn't he trying to stop him from accepting this fight? Yunho responded saying he would, considering his opponent was the Goto Ryuji, making Mami Cha ask what was the reason. He replied saying it was for the same reason as her, making her look stunned. They were both looking forward to seeing their battle. He thought that if Jinwoo was really a hunter capable of leveling up, then he might have already become even stronger than the last time he saw him. Jinwoo closed his eyes, telling Ryuji to get started. But Ryuji had already attacked in an instant as soon as he finished his sentence, creating a powerful blast of air. My glorious king easily evaded the attack, making Ryuji question if he had missed. He was stated to be a mage type, but he didn't believe that shit one bit. His movements were agile and his steps were silent, stating that he may have been able to deceive others but not him. He would strip away that disguise of his and expose exactly what he was. Jinwoo could sense that the hunter in front of him was definitely of a different caliber than those of the same rank, but he could still dodge every single one of his attacks without breaking a sweat. Ryuji was shocked, seeing that he was smiling again. Izawa asked if they should intervene, as Kenzo Tanaka stated that Ryuji was really taking this fight seriously. Tegyu went on to say that his attacks were scary, his eyes couldn't even keep track of him. Dongwook was amazed, saying that Jinwoo was really hanging in there. His opponent was the strongest hunter in Japan, so the fact that he was even able to avoid his attacks was a feat in and of itself. Alright buddy, stop glazing. Mami Cha knew exactly who the real big dog was, saying that my glorious king wasn't just hanging in there, but was in fact baiting every single one of Ryuji's attacks. Choi Jong-in appeared, saying that it seemed like an exciting match had begun while he was out for a smoke. Ryuji was surprised, seeing as he dodged his attack, questioning if he had gotten lucky again. He wouldn't be able to hit him unless he went all out, stating that he had changed his mind. He was going to unalive him. His strike managed to graze his left cheek, making the system warn him to be cautious since there was an enemy with murderous intent nearby. Ryuji then hit him with a powerful blow, but he was suddenly taken aback, as my glorious king had easily blocked his silly-ass attack, giving him a menacing smile. He thought that if he kept playing around, he would end up receiving an urgent quest like he did with Hwang Dong-suk and Kang Tae-shik. Ryuji questioned why he was so strong, and to make it worse, he could have grabbed his wrist ending the match, but he purposely grabbed his hand instead. He asked if he was really trying to play around with him, making Jinwoo reply saying that he had no idea what he just said. But the game would have been over if he had grabbed his wrist, and he was sure he didn't want things to just end there. Both hunters suddenly charged toward each other with tremendous speed, shocking both Baek Yoonho and Mami Cha for just how fast they were going. But before both of them could make an impact against one another, the two of them were suddenly restrained in an instant by their respective teams using every ounce of their strength, as Kei activated one of his spells, creating a barrier between them. Barely holding on, Yoonho went on to say that that was enough, stating that Ryuji was the man in charge of leading the Japanese team in a few days, as Mami Cha explained that they wouldn't be able to handle the consequences if something were to happen to him. Yoonho then told Hanekawa that the sparring session had gotten overly heated, so they should call it a day, and then asked my glorious king if he had overstepped his boundaries by restraining him, but he replied saying not at all. Dongwook laughed, saying he couldn't believe he went up against the great Goto Ryuji, and walked away with only a scratch, saying it was impressive. He then said that he had a spectacular build, inviting him to his guild since it was chock full of mages and didn't have enough fighters. But Choi Jong-un interrupted, explaining that he was a mage type, which shocked him. Drippy-woo took out a deep sigh, thinking that he got a little too excited. But he now had a good grasp of how strong everyone was. He's had close encounters with multiple hunters, including Goto Ryuji so far, but even though they were all S ranks, they still haven't been able to notice the soldiers hiding in their shadows. Not even Goto Ryu Fraud had sensed anything out of the ordinary. He then reiterated to the chairman about his request for him to participate in the Jeju raid, saying he had finally decided on his answer. The panel then switched over to Hanekawa, seeing that there was something wrong with the fraud, as he was hyperventilating, showing an expression of absolute horror.